I didn't hit. I didn't hit. I didn't hit. I'm right
These are so like, you want to swear actually?
I hate to say that. For those of you in the back row. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Anyhow, welcome to our meeting this evening, and we're just going to jump right into our agenda. Mr. Parker, do you have some awards and recognitions?
I sure do. We have quite a few things to talk about this evening. So I'm going to start, and you know, Scott County Schools, we try really hard to think outside the box and be innovative, and so this is the time on our agenda when we are recognizing outstanding accomplishments and achievements. And this month we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to recognize some folks who we know won't be here with us today. A couple of weeks ago, the Scott County High School archery team attended a meeting in Warren County. Excuse me. After competing, they returned to the bus to find a flat tire. Initially, it was a Friday afternoon. The best we could find is 5 hours was what it was going to take for us to get that repaired. There's a brotherhood and sisterhood among superintendents, so I made a call to Rob Clayton, superintendent of Warren County Schools, and within an hour, Warren County Director of Transportation Chip Jenkins and shop foreman Jerry Beard came to our rescue, changing the tire and sending our students safely on their way. Though they couldn't be here with us this evening, it is my honor to present an honorary challenge coin to Mr. Clayton, Mr. Jenkins, and Mr. Beard. And I want to publicly thank our friends in Warren County who will receive those coins by mail for the first time we've done something like this. So just wanted to acknowledge that. All right. That's not all. How do we change the world? One one small act of kindness at a time. Today we recognize an incredible group of people who make Scott County a better place every single day. This year there have been so many instances when our Scott County Family Resource and Youth Service Center coordinators and liaisons have served our students and their families with over 100 years of their combined experience. Frisk centers are busy year-round, and that's year-round. That's not just school year, that's year-round with backpack programs, resource assistance, which would include clothing, food, rent, utilities, medical care, and/or transportation, community partnerships, and parent and student educational opportunities. During winter break, their dedication to our community truly went above and beyond. As many staff members began winter break, Frisk centers were busier than ever, continuing to make Christmas miracles happen, checking in on student safety, assisting with bills for families in need to ensure the heat stayed on during bitterly cold days, and completing food deliveries for families. These men and women sacrificed time with their own families to provide food to a student who was concerned about his family having nothing to eat. Thanks to them, families received beautifully wrapped gifts when they thought giving their children Christmas gifts was just a dream. Our Frisks help make these dreams come true. We'd like to thank our Family Resource Youth Service Center team members. For those who are present, please come on up when I call your name. Christy Albenzi and Hannah Gagnon at Scott County High School and Phoenix Horizon Community. Sherry Risher and Amy Claiborne at Great Crossing High School. Mike Arvin and Lindsay Abrams at Western Elementary and Stamping Ground Elementary. April Ball at Lemons Mill Elementary and Creekside Elementary. Christy Underkoffler, also at Creekside Elementary, as well as Garth Elementary. Hannah Crouch and Sydney Anderson at Ann Mason Elementary and Northern Elementary. Tori Hudnall at Southern Elementary. Becky McDonald at Garth Elementary and Eastern Elementary. Carrie Apple at Royal Spring Middle School. Olivia Gillis at Scott County Middle School. Scott Turner at Scott County Preschool. And new to the team, we are glad to welcome Nancy Mercado at Georgetown Middle School. With us today to join in the celebration is Paul Kuckendorfer, Region 5 Regional Program Manager. Glad to see you here as well. Our Frisk coordinators and liaisons have greatly exceeded the standard of excellence in supporting students and families in Scott County, and we cannot thank them enough. And also, Liz Yandel, if you wouldn't mind coming up, because I know you work with this group of fine men and women. All right, if you would join me, please, in giving this group a incredibly well-deserved round of applause. I believe Liz is going to take you off and get a picture somewhere else. If we could get a picture up here real quick, and then I have Scott County Schools Challenge coins, 2nd edition, to provide to everybody once we get a picture at your head. There we go. There we go. I can't.
Make sure your face is between somebody's shoulders. I know. Your face between somebody's shoulders.
We see Arvin's topics, yeah, we're good.
It's outstanding. And Scott's hiding a little bit.
Don't run off.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You'll have to ask Bill, and he'll show it to you. I carried one with me.
I just told Eleanor, asked about him, I said, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah, I'm hiding. Kudos to you, let me tell you.
Well, that's not all. We've got all kinds of nice gestures today. So finally tonight, it is truly my pleasure to recognize and thank members of the Scott County Board of Education. Those who attend monthly board meetings see firsthand both the importance of the decisions that come before you and the thoughtfulness and dedication that your decisions make for our district. Outside of these meetings, you spend hours attending trainings, which we're getting ready to do here very shortly. Read materials, visit schools, and listen to the concerns of others. As a legislative body, your leadership is essential to provide opportunities for our students to learn in a safe environment and to pave the way for graduates to become successful, productive members of our community. January is official School Board Appreciation Month, and while we are thankful for your service every day, this is a very perfect time for us to express our gratitude. On behalf of our students, families, employees, and community, thank you to Mrs. Brooker, Mrs. Duncan, Mrs. Young, Mrs. Ratliff, and Mrs. Nelson. And I have a small gift, not a coin. Well, we'll save that for something else.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Susan, do you have? I think they did. Dr. Hub gave it to us. Yeah.
Really cold now.
I think so.
It's such
How do you feel that way about us?
No, well, hey,
Just keep on giving.
like I said, that's the one thing I've said is that we've got a lot of people that understand and realize the intentions of everybody's heart. We're after the right thing. All right, we're gonna get a picture
Do you want to
later.
do it now or later?
Well, yeah, up to you all. Do you want to get a picture later?
Later,
Do it in front of the
please.
Upstairs
schools.
at, in B after we're done?
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds like a winner. All right, I'll be quiet for a little while.
All right, well, thank you very much, and thank you so much to the Family Resource Group, very, very special group of people, and all that they do for our schools and our students, so thank you. Number 4, agenda approval. Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, public comment? No? Okay. Number 6, consent agenda items A through L.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, construction report. Right to you, Tony. Good evening. How are you, Tony?
Good. Well, despite the blustery, rainy, and cold weather, contractors have been able to move along and get some good quality production in. I'm going to start tonight's PowerPoint with actually a drone shot. This is actually 10 days ago. But yeah, so this is from over Long looking north, so a lot of progress. And here's even further away. You can really see how the farmland around it. This is practically right over Long Pike. You can see McCracken Creek on the left. Incredible job by the contractors, really, moving as quickly as they have. And here you can see it right over top of the bridge from the bypass, looking at this face of the school. So again, that was 10 days ago, and even despite the weather, they've been able to continue to move along and have started on the very top floor. Here you can see they've got some insulation in place on the lower floor, so brick will start soon. That was a 2-story section facing the bypass. Will be the front entry. Of course, there's another floor, the BDC that goes over top of this, but you can see the progress there. And this is a picture, same picture, just further away. And this you can see, the snow squall came through, so, and the contractors were still there working, but you can see how high up the masonry block is, how high the steel is, and you can get a feel for the top of the steel now, just how tall the building will be there on that side. Very muddy, very wet, but a lot of work done. And here's the central stairwell, and you can see how far the steel goes up there. Another view of the central stair. I'm on the middle level there. And yet another view. I walked all the way around. This is pretty cool from this side. The stairs will, where they have that 2x4 ladder, is where the stairs will meet on that other side, and that will be the Great Hall. The gym is the blocks, right? The block wall you see behind there, which still has, of course, several more courses to go. Here's not very great picture of a classroom, but you can see they're finishing them out and they're trying to close some of them in and get some heat in there. And just, I think I've shown this picture several times, but just I love looking out and seeing the barn across the, just great views. This is a classroom view here. And despite the weather, like I said, there's people all over that site working. The lot was full of cars and full of men and pouring concrete.
That was today?
That was this
I
morning.
didn't think before concrete is cold.
Yeah, yeah. They have cold weather additives that they can use. They can probably get down to about 20 degrees. Costs them a little more, but they don't want to not work either, so they find a way. And here I am up on the very top floor, so you can see the precast panels. This was different than Great Crossing. This has been a really fast way for them to put large precast concrete panels in place. Once they get the walls up, these precast panels go in place very quickly. So I'm up on the top floor there. And here, one of the new things, of course, we talked about it several times, there's a storm shelter here, so they have to build up concrete walls, and this would be the side of the cafeteria, and the formwork was just incredible. So I snapped a picture of that. And there you are, high up in the central stairwell, looking back down. And this is a shot up on that upper floor, looking over towards the gym, so you can see the large area of the gym floor. Of course, like I said, there's a lot more to go in the gym block walls there, because they'd be much taller than that. But you start to see where spaces are going to be and the size that they're going to be. This is looking over the main floor classrooms. You can just really see again the shapes of the rooms, the size of the rooms, and all the way back down to the bottom again, looking up the central stairwell area. So again, just incredible progress on their part. They seem to really have. I don't write a lot of things in my field report because I don't see a lot of deficiency. So hats off to Darren, and of course you all have a crew that go up there a lot and probably and watches them as well. So they probably maintain doing a good job. But the block joinery is good, the steel connections are good, the concrete work is good. So Darren, the site foreman, and the subs are really doing a great job. So and of course moving quickly. It's probably one of the fastest jobs I've seen go. And of course the cable trays are going in now. The pipe, the duct work, the electrical. So great progress. I dare say that they're actually on time or better to meet the almost impossible schedule they have. So, but they're going at such a rate that they just might make it. Which of course is a year from this summer coming up. And this is just coming back out and looking at the bridge crossing over to the, and of course I love that barn in the background. I keep cutting about 5 different pictures, but but that'll be where you exit out towards the bypass. So it's going to be a beautiful setting as well. So, and the brick is here. We talked brick about last time, and it was on the lot, and they're delivering, and we saw some of that insulation, so they've got a spot in place to be able to start putting the brick up now. As soon as they get some pretty decent dry weather on one side, they'll start going. And that's it for the construction report tonight, unless there's any questions on any of the things we talked about or looked at.
I don't have any at this time, anybody?
Thank you all.
Looks wonderful, thank you so much. Thanks for the update.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Number 8, student achievement report.
Good evening. Hello. So, two things for the student achievement report. I'm going to give you a little update on deeper learning and our district graduate profile, and then Heather Brown is going to give you an update on SCOLA, our online learning academy. So, first I want to thank each of you for coming last Wednesday to our community event. And Becky, I know that you would have loved to have been there, but you had to teach a class. So your support means so much in this work. I know our deeper learning coaches and our principals and assistant principals have all put a lot of time and energy into this work, and you all being there was huge for us, so thank you. But yes, so today, before we came here, all the deeper learning coaches came together and we disaggregated all of the information and feedback that we had, and we have narrowed it down to 8 to 12 of the different competencies that everyone identified, and then we also started defining what that looks like for students. So if you can join us next Wednesday at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30 at ECS, we are then again, now we've taken that information and gotten it down, we're going to ask for our community and stakeholders feedback to what those measures are going to possibly look like, and we'll start to prioritize. And then the next big step will be surveying out all of our community, our parents, our civic leaders, business leaders, teachers, students, to really get down to exactly what we want our graduate profile to be. So that's where we are, and so as soon as that happens, then we will be bringing that final picture of what that is to you all to review. So very excited, and again, thank you all so much.
I'd just like to add how organized UK and yourself, it was surprising, stuff like that, but it was excellent.
Well, thank you.
And I heard a lot of positive comments.
Yes, we had a huge turnout, over 109 people attended, and yes, so thank you. We appreciate a lot of great people who are here behind me today also helped make that event awesome, so we really appreciate it.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I love postcard that we received and
Good.
everything. Who did we specifically invite? Was it like every parent, every?
No, so so our deeper learning coaches, so we have an administrator and a coach at every school, preschool through 12th grade. And we went through and identified civic leaders, business leaders, parents, and students. So we went through and identified a huge list of those. And then those are the people that we sent the invite. So that way, if you happen to be more of a representative of Royal Springs, that might look different than a representative from Georgetown Middle School. And so we wanted to make sure that every school had a voice in who got invited to sit at that table.
And how many people were invited versus how many came? You said 109 came.
We had 109 come. I want to say we invited around 150.
Oh my gosh.
And so we had a huge turnout.
Yeah. Another thing that, Stephanie was like, hey, let's really get the word out. We don't want anybody to feel like they weren't invited. If maybe they didn't make the list. So at the chamber, I had an opportunity, they gave me about 5 minutes to get up there and mention it then. So it was mentioned at that point. I mentioned it in front of Scott County United. I had various opportunities where smaller groups where we were, and I know Stephanie was doing the same. So on top of the official invite list, we were also trying to cast a wide net to, because just as well as I do, you've got people in the community maybe never have been involved in something like that would love to be too. So we wanted to make sure they had that opportunity.
Yeah, Jack Homer sent it out to every member of the chamber. But we thought for the people who got a personal invitation, and also those people who got a personal invitation, before they even got that, they were contacted by phone call from one of the deeper learning coaches saying, we'd like for you to come and represent our school. So we just want to give it a little personal touch. Yeah.
It worked well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and to have superintendents come, you know, I thought that was, it was just really neat to see,
It was really great.
see such a large group
Yeah.
there.
All right, so next Heather will tell us all about SCOLA. So thanks for having us this evening. We have actually 293 students now enrolled in SCOLA. And so we are really rocking and rolling. We had an excellent first semester. We did, I added the numbers here that I've given you guys in the past about how many students are coming from each school. We did send back about, you all have this handout.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's got the blue SCOLA, yeah. That's good.
One quick question I have, as
Yeah.
you're going over these numbers at the bottom, are these singularly represented, or for example, if they return, I guess the homeschool versus returning to in-person on their own, and returning?
That's for the entire year.
Right, and
This
these
is
are,
so far.
nobody's double listed.
No.
Or
So those
just
at the
one
bottom,
category.
yes. We have actually enrolled 389 students total. 46 of those have went back in person, and then 35 of those students, we have actually, most of those at the semester that were not being successful, many of which were high schoolers, and we worked with the counselors to get them back in person. As well as we have one in waiting, and we've had 15 students who have either went to a different district, or they've moved, or they went back to homeschool. We've had a lot of super good success. We had a recent event at the Scott County Public Library where Patty Burnside was able to help us share with our SCOLA students some resources that our kiddos can use from home for online learning, which was great. We've been able to share that then back out to some of our families who weren't able to attend, as well as we did some social emotional learning activities on problem solving. And so that has went over really well. We've had an excellent response to our pilot program for schools PLP. Ms. Emmons was able to secure 50 pilot licenses for us. It's a program similar to Edgenuity, which is what we started with. But we are getting a ton of positive feedback about this new program, actually from kindergarten through 12th grade. So we have more elementary and middle school students enrolled in the pilot, but the high school we have been able to be pretty selective using some of our students who have IEPs. Teachers are really enjoying it because they have easier access. So that has been a great success for us. We are also going to look at recruiting. We've started thinking about already those parents that we missed coming into this year that are currently homeschooling here in Scott County. So we've started a process to start that like we did over the summer, making phone calls and sending out mailers, reaching out to those folks that maybe had already paid for tuition in other places that we can still help here in Scott County. So we're looking forward to that as well.
A couple things I'll say about what Ms. Brown and her team have really looked at doing. So, you know, one, and when we started down this path, we said this isn't going to be perfect, and we're going to find that there's some tweaks to make. And so it's been really neat. We've had some meetings here recently with high school principals and some of their feedback on, you know, they're like, hey, can we get our kids back sooner if we're feeling like maybe they're not participating like they should, because at the end of the day, if they're coming back to us, they're going to be our kids and count towards our score, and so that's one of those things where I would say we've just learned from this year's experience that, you know, we're going to be a little swifter in moving next year and maybe show a little less. You know, I've always said that for me it's dancing that fine line between being compassionate and being an enabler, and maybe we were a little enabling this year because we wanted to, you know, make sure we were given every opportunity. So that would be something. You know, I'm thinking about the other aspect. I did want to make it clear, when we say recruiting, we're not actively sharing this with our schools, because as we said before, this is more of a safety net to kind of catch people that are in person that might be going away from that, to kind of keep our eyes on them, keep them in the system, and keep to where we can provide things, because I mean, I had a meeting with a homeschool family this week at Winter House, and it didn't seem like there was a whole lot going on with that program. So again, if we can keep them and capture them back, the hope, and Heather knows, you know, the hope is that we're getting students from our SCOLA program back into our home school. So I wanted to just be clear on that, so that way you didn't, you know, we don't, yes, we're recruiting, but we're looking to recruit what I call net news, folks that we haven't captured that aren't ours currently, to bring them in the fold. And again, they've been super creative. I couldn't be happier with the folks that we've been able to select to be a part of this. They've done an excellent job, so kudos to them.
What, I'm sorry, you might have alluded to this a little bit earlier. Of the approximate 81 students that have returned to in-person, whether on their own or required to church, what is the age group predominantly? Did you say high school from
Yes.
all of those students?
It has been, I would say, without having those numbers specifically, just off the top of my head, the majority of those folks are typically our secondary kids.
Okay. Are you finding a common denominator there as to why?
I do think that initially some students thought it was going to be
A little
like,
easier like
yeah,
last year?
like we had COVID,
Right.
and when kids were held to a certain standard and they were required to do work, and we have requirements that they have to log in each
Right.
day. And I think once they realized that this wasn't, you know, your NTI day works during COVID, they're like, well, this might be a little more challenging than they had initially anticipated. So, yeah, I do think the majority of those have come from our secondary level schools.
And Heather and her team have done a great job of tracking progress every day. And so I think the kids realized very quickly that they couldn't get away with just completing a little bit, you know, that they were being monitored closely. And so therefore, they realized it wasn't gonna be a cakewalk. So,
Well, these students have to take the state test.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can't get away from that.
But those scores will go back to their home school,
Yes.
correct?
Will they come in to take the test with the rest of the school? Okay.
Yes.
There were certain in-person requirements, correct, along the way that were noted?
Yes,
As
so
part of the
all
arrangement.
of the students are still required to come in to take the state assessments. So they knew that. We had those requirements within the parent agreement from the beginning.
And with math testing, we're already with one of those pilot schools that have to come in and take that. So we haven't measured or benchmarked.
Do they have to provide their own transportation to get?
The way we did map testing in the fall was that we actually tested at their districted school, so that if students also required transportation, then we provided transportation through, I worked with Josh in transportation and got those students on the bus, and the SCOLA staff then met them there at their districted school, so we didn't have to worry about, you know, having transportation issues.
And also, she's not giving herself and her team enough credit. They have like social events at like Mod Pizza, like they're doing things, and then the partnership with the public library was all SCOLA's idea, and I mean, they're really working hard to make sure it's more than just an online program, it's an experience, so.
Do we find that some of these students are participating? Because one of our hopes, of course, we always talk about extracurricular activities for students, that we always feel like that's what keeps kids glued to the schools. Do we find that we have a lot of these students participating at all different levels, or what are your
I
thoughts
do
there?
think there is some participation, but I definitely believe that there's room to grow in that communication, especially at the elementary and middle school level, of the things that we're offering after schools. And so we encourage parents right now to stay connected, you know, with the communication that their districted schools are pushing out. But I think there's room to grow there, just some sort of, you know, unified place where they can find that information, maybe through us, that comes out to them. But we also have kids that are on the swim team. We have kids that are, you know, doing Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and things like that. So there's definitely stuff going on, but we do want to expand on that. That's part of the reason we're partnering with the library, to bring those kiddos in, just to give them an opportunity to, you know, we did a craft and we had some
refreshments, and they learned about the library and just did some really kind of cool things collaboratively, so.
Very good, very good. Okay, well, thank you so much.
What's one of the PLP
Oh.
program? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, you're fine.
PLP, what is that actually?
Yeah, I'm happy to explain, but Ms. Emmons has been
Oh, whoever.
in it much sooner than I was, so she brought it to us, and so it has definitely been a warm welcome. Well, I'll just kind of tell you where it came from. So currently, we have been using Ingenuity, and Ingenuity is an extremely expensive program, where they upcharge for, like, if we wanted to offer CTE course offerings, or if we wanted to offer a group of electives or language, we have to pay more and pay more. Schools PLP is a program that I have used in the past in my principal role, and it is, number one, cheaper, and number two, it encompasses all those opportunities in their price point. And so it's a very user-friendly program. We have always received very positive impact from students and parents. And so I just kind of said, hey, this is an option, and Heather's team, they got one look at it, and let's try this. It's, like I said, it's easy to read. It's easy for a student or a parent to look on there to know exactly where they are, what progress they're making. It has a lot of features that are easily accessible to teachers, which Edgenuity has some pieces that are a little bit more difficult. So for example, if we had biology, well, all Scott County School students who are in biology are in one section. Whereas with this program, we can say, well, here is a section for Great Crossing High School, and a teacher can have access, a special education teacher can have access. It's a very user-friendly program. So thought we'd try it out and see what kind of feedback we got, and then make decisions from there. One of the greatest features that we found is it has in the program, there's a built-in texting feature, which is amazing because the students and the teachers can text back and forth, and it pops up that you have a new message either from your student or you can send it to your student. And that has increased our ability to communicate back and forth with the students. Otherwise, they would have to go out into their email, then try to explain where they were at, and so that's been a huge benefit for everybody. It actually will not, so if you send a student a message, it will not let that student move on to anything in the program until they have read that message. So they can't just ignore it. Yeah, but
Did you already establish some, I guess, baselines for where a student needs to be at the semester mark in order to stay in the program, or a threshold they had, to meet, or are you handling it right now just on a one-on-one for kids not?
well, in both programs, in Edgenuity and Schools PLP, once a student enrolls in that course, it has blackout dates for the days that we are out of school, and it literally gives them a detailed agenda of what they have to do every day in every course.
Right.
And so it will tell a student if they're on track and if they're failing. And so part of what we've been telling students is you have to be on pace and on track in all of your courses and passing all of your courses. And so when we start to have those meetings with students and parents, typically we're going, hey, we're going to take another look at midterm, but we start off by giving a probation letter, and then if students haven't met and increased their progress, then they get a return to in-person school letter. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Number 9, approve emergency certification for the position of district-wide ESL teacher. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, approve emergency certification for the position of social studies teacher at Great Crossing High School.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, create positions as listed 11A through 11C.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approve dual credit memorandum of agreement between Bluegrass Community and Technical College, BCTC, and Scott County Schools for the 22-23 school year.
Move to approve conditioned on any revisions to be recommended by the board attorney and authorized by the superintendent.
I'd like to add a comment. Are the attachments here updated as we,
Yeah, it has the old one that was last year and then the new one too.
Okay,
But not
and
the
Josh
one
is
that
ready.
sent.
Okay.
Josh is still looking at it.
okay, okay, all right,
So,
great. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, award athletic trainer contract for the 2023-2024 school year.
so,
All in favor?
aye.
Those opposed?
Do you need to specify, or I guess is as it's presented?
The recommendation was Bluegrass Orthopedics.
There's an, we have attached, just so folks know, we have all of those attached there too. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, award the depository and investment bank bid for the 2023-2024.
Move to approve contract with Wesco Bank. West Bango Bank, so, second now.
Do the second, okay? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, approve items for surplus.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, review draft budget for 2024.
I mean, I could go over it if you'd like. I think you've all seen it ahead of time. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like a brief overview?
I plan on coming in and sit down with you.
Okay, that works too. This is our first dry run at our 23-24 budget, because legislatures can still make changes. The salary schedules haven't been approved for next year. Has a little bit of information we got from the PBA, but you can go through the numbers and holler at me if you have any questions. This is the first of 3 that will be presented on.
And just for our new members, when will we have the other drafts?
In May, we have a tentative budget that we propose, and that's a little more finalized when we have a few more really good numbers. And then we do one in September, and that's like they call it our working budget. We roll our tentative to the one we start July. Last minute changes are done for the working.
The 9-page overview was a big help, thank you for that.
Yeah.
If you get a date to meet with Gina, I'd love to join you.
Sure, you're more than welcome.
You're all more than welcome.
Okay. 2 by 2s. 2
2
by 2s, let me say that in a public meeting, 2 by 2s. Okay. I'm assuming you're sitting down for number 17,
Oh, yeah.
financial
I figured
statements.
since I got 2, I just make myself known.
All right, yes, please do.
November, we finished our, last month we had a kind of early meeting, so we didn't get November done. But November, we started with 112 million. We had receipts of 5.8 million, expenses of 7.8 million, leaving our ending cash balance at 110.2 million. We have investments of 98 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $12.1 million. In December, our numbers changed quite a bit. We've got our big tax check that we always look forward to. We started with 110.2 million. We had receipts of 49.5 million. We have expenditures of 33.6 million. Our ending cash balance was 126 million. And we had investments of 85.5 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $40.5 million. Any questions?
Such a good question.
All righty.
All right, thank you very much. Number 18, approve current bills.
Move to approve.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 19, superintendent's report.
So in my defense, it's been about 6 or 7 weeks, so I've got a few things to say. Under Standard 1, strategic leadership, I was able to participate in a talent pipeline management education meeting, and it was designed through the Kentucky Chamber. And it was, it focused in on hiring needs that we were seeing within education. Really appreciate their efforts to try and wrap their head around the challenges that we're dealing with. I'll be passing that off to Mr. Stefanik. He'll get to participate in that group. And then, you know, the Kentucky Chamber's been a really great partner for us. You know, you might recall we've got there's a principal training program that they kind of have for not necessarily new principals, but for principals in general. And you know, sometimes you're lucky to get one principal in, and last year we got several. So that'll be something that I know a few of our principals are pursuing this year, and we hope to get them in again as well. Completed first semester site visits, and you know, I gotta thank Ms. Simmons, because I had a couple of days where we had some sort of something pass through at our house, and she had to help cover for a few of those. So thank you to Ms. Simmons on that, but we got those completed. And then the graduate profile community meeting, we talked a little bit about that, and I couldn't be more pleased with the fact that we are just traveling down the right path and going in a great direction. And I really want to thank the Office of Student Learning and the Deeper Learning team for all their work to make that such a success. Cultural leadership. Well, we, and again, I'm going back a little ways. This is in December. We brought back the Central Office Christmas breakfast, where we actually cooked. And we were all scared to death for years. We talked about this, but we talked about the fact, oh, we're too big, we can't pull this off. And so we didn't have quite the invite list this year that we would in the past, but we feel pretty, I don't know, we feel pretty comfortable that we might be having a pretty strong invite list next year, because we can flip some pancakes. Yeah. Paul Kruger, where's he at? Yeah, Paul Kruger right there. Watch that guy. So, but anyway, it was really nice, and everybody was active and participated. And outside of a couple of spills, it was a pretty good event. So MLK Day celebration and walk, got to participate in that, and really enjoyed our speaker this year. She was phenomenal. And last year we didn't have the walk because of weather, so it was neat to get to participate in that this year. And my dad was there, so I got to hang out with him a little bit too. I thought that was kind of fun, connect a little work and pleasure there. And then American Legion meeting. So DT is always going around and finding somehow, he finds people that haven't contributed to Scott County Schools in some way, and he finds a way to leverage getting them in the door. You know, maybe they are going to be a tremendous contributor. Maybe it's just going to be by getting their name on our little sponsor card that you can get discounts on. But anyway, got to participate in a meeting with the American Legion, and we did what $1,000 I think is what they ended up being sponsors for. So we've got them started. We'll see where it goes from there. So good partnership there. And then the ECS Biomed White Coat ceremony, and this year was interesting because we did get to have Ms. Simmons get her white coat, as did Representative Pratt, who was in attendance for that, and I thought that was pretty neat to have his support there. And then human resource leadership. So we talked a little bit about I've been working and assisting in the development of what's become House Bill 32, and that's the one where we're looking at trying to find a way for certain classified positions to be able to not necessarily require a high school diploma. You know, if a bus driver can complete the CDL and get their passenger endorsement, what are we doing when we're in the situation that we're in? So I'm prepared to speak here in the next couple of weeks with that, but it's already been filed. Everybody we're talking to suggests it should be a slam dunk, but we'll see. You know how that can go. And then and I did want to thank Representative Pratt, because he's passed it off to a freshman, but he has been instrumental in getting that going for us. And again, across the state, everybody's happy about that. And then we've been working on developing possible incentives for the teaching and learning pathway, and I think you all have a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about there, but I don't want to launch with that announcement, but I did just want to kind of say thank you to the board team for your feedback and your support as we're trying to do something different and innovative to make a difference. Then Standard 5 managerial leadership. Over winter break, I got to give kudos to Gina, and even though he's our board attorney, and I joke with him about the fact that every phone call I have with him costs me money, I'm gonna give kudos to our board attorney too, because they both, during days that really they should have been taking time to enjoy their family, they were helping us march through with the completion of the equipment lease that you all had approved. We ran into some snags, and Katie had a checklist, and there were different things that were challenging to get through, but I couldn't have been happier with the way that ended up landing. And again, kudos to Gina and Josh on that, because they ended up getting it done before the deadline, which resulted in a much lower rate for the school. So, and again, as a reminder, with that equipment, now they will have a complement of equipment in their information technology department at Great Crossing High School that is literally the only in America. So it's a big deal, big stuff. And they've even got a banner of where the equipment's gonna go. So when I went with leadership, Scott County, they were giving a tour, and they've got a banner that shows what's going where. And so I threw out there that they should name it the Gina Amos recording studio, but we'll see if that floats. My weather awareness team, thanks Dwayne and Josh True for all our help. We've had a few I don't know, early mornings here lately, so it's been nice to have having a strong team makes everything easier. And then allocation meetings began today, and really I thought about that this morning when we got rolling, because it's always one of those events where I try not to get too stressed out about, but it's one of those, you want it to be right. You want to make sure you're not freaking out your principals, and you've got good data that you're presenting them with. And this year was different because in the past we hadn't always incorporated open enrollment numbers in that, and also we've got SCOLA to contend with too. So we had a variety of data to also pull in. So I just got to give thanks to Mr. Stefanik for all his work on the paperwork, Ms. Brown for helping us make sure those SCOLA numbers were spot on, Scott Bruins for work on the open enrollment, Gina for making sure that, I apologize, Gina, I got her some numbers late to make it a little bit difficult. She's got to send out something to principals to give them a little bit more accurate data on one piece of their funding, but having that together, and then Kim Hinton also with special ed numbers. That's something that we changed last year, having her be a part of the meetings, and I've found that to be incredibly beneficial. So that's been great. Collaborative leadership, completed school visits with new board members, and it was one of those things where when Wendy came on, she came on at just a different time. It wasn't it just wasn't a common time when you had, there wasn't elections or anything like that. She came on and she was like, hey, can I get in schools? And I was like, sure. And then looking at it after the fact, it was like, I wish I had a chance to really go with it. Because I think today you were out of school, and so it worked out for you, but I had things lined up. But so at any rate, that was one of those where you learn from your mistakes, and I thought, I want to make sure But so anyway, we did get to complete our visits with our newest, I guess, board members. We got all kinds of levels of new around here. And then Key Club meeting, we've got two Kiwanis clubs in Georgetown. We've got the Scott County Club and the Georgetown Club. One's the daytime club, one's the nighttime club, but they just wanted to get Key Club going back in our high schools, and so we had a really wonderful meeting. A gentleman, I can't remember his last name, Dalton, I want to say Reed, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, he's a Bardstown High School student. He's the Kentucky-Tennessee governor of the group. He came in suit and tie, and as a student told us all about how wonderful Key Club was and what he loved about it, and the inclusive nature of the club. So, because there's not really a GPA requirement, it's just people wanting to contribute and do good. And I look at it from the stance that, about 10 years ago when I was principal in Frankfort, I was a member of the evening club, the Scott County Club. And, the group number had dwindled, and it's continuing to get smaller. And I just feel like maybe this is a way to connect a new generation of people to be a part of it, so that those clubs can continue to succeed, because Renee could probably tell you more than anybody, the Kiwanis Club's really involved with pouring out, generally all the funds that they bring in come back to our students in some way, shape, or fashion. So anyway, great meeting, and I'm really, really appreciative of Ms. Gayhart and Ms. Lesby for their willingness to sit down and see if we can bring Key Club to both schools. And last but not least, influential leadership spoke. So we talked a little bit about the draft budget. And one of the things that I continue to bring up with anybody that's a legislator that will listen, I talked to John Cooper the other day about it as well, and he wasn't aware. Scott County United, they get to hear about it, and I talked to the commissioner as well, as that SEEK shortfall we talked about